Russia's government has dismissed as exaggerated reports of an exodus of draft-age men from the country following President Vladimir Putin's military mobilization. But the Kremlin spokesman did not deny local media claims that some detained anti-mobilization protesters were given enlistment papers. He says it's not against the law to do so. Close to 1,400 people have been arrested for protesting against Mr Putin's move, his biggest effort yet to pour more troops into Ukraine. He reportedly wants 300,000 conscripts to join the fray. Demonstrations erupted in 38 cities, calling into question public support for President Putin's war. In Moscow alone, around 500 protesters were arrested. A witness in Kursk says police cordons are everywhere, checking cars and turning back those with men in them. One-way flights out of the country apparently sold out quickly after the move to mobilize was announced. There fears Moscow will soon shut its borders to stop people from leaving. The Kremlin has declined to comment on whether this move might be on the table. The few remaining plane tickets out of the country are now up to 9 times more expensive.
So, partial mobilization is one of the reasons why I'm here. Very poor step, and seems to be that it can lead to lots of problems to lots of Russian citizens.
Well, Stuart Smith joins us live from Moscow. Stuart, any sign of more protests in Russia?
More have been planned. The main organizer of these protests is a group known as Vesna. That's what they call themselves. They were the ones that originally arranged protests in Moscow and St. Petersburg, Russia's 2 biggest cities, on Wednesday. They have, they say, now plans for a further set of protests on Saturday, encouraging more people to come out to loudly show their displeasure with this move. That is illegal at the moment, and so those coming out will risk both a fine and prison sentences, and also, which is new for Russia, they risk now mobilization. As you said, the Kremlin not denying reports and saying it's not illegal for the police to issue summons to go to fight in Ukraine to these protesters that have been detained. It's all part, it seems, of a plan for a plan declared by the Russian Ministry of Defense to delegate conscription to the regions of Russia, of which there are 85. It seems they will be in the responsibility of the governors of these regions, as during COVID-19, when the difficult decisions were delegated lower down the chain to make those calls and decide who exactly is to be sent to the front lines. And it's also reported that it will be at the regional level certain quotas about how many men need to be enlisted. So protests expected again over the weekend, but no indication, to be honest, that there will be any change to government policy, with insiders in the Kremlin telling Russian media they are quite relaxed about the lack of mobilization. Indeed, 1,300 arrests by Russian standards is not a lot for a massive country with about 140 million people, and there's no indication at the moment that will change the way this goes.
Oh, even so, Stuart, there is some anxiety, and that has prompted, what we understand, thousands thinking of leaving the country. Are authorities going to be doing anything to be stopping this exodus?
Well, indeed. So those who do not believe they can change the actions of the government through protest might instead be choosing to leave, a potentially safer and easier option for Russians, while at the moment the borders are not closed. Frankly, to the surprise of many, it was expected that should mobilization be announced, closure of the borders to fighting-aged men would be one of the first things to do. But so far, the Kremlin says, and perhaps this is why, that the reports of people moving abroad are exaggerated. But there are definitely people choosing to do so, with increased presence at the Finnish border, the Russia-Finnish land border, the Georgian-Russian land border, and also the airline tickets, which indeed did sell out for Wednesday and Thursday. And over the weekend, prices are incredibly high for one-way tickets to destinations where Russians do not need visas. Also, some interesting news coming from the European Union, which has said it's looking to create a joined-up policy across member states about whether Russians should be allowed into the EU to avoid conscription. It's something that Latvia says that it's trying to avoid having to do, fearing more Russians coming into the country.
Well, thanks for that, Stuart Smith, speaking to us live there from Moscow. Ukraine has welcomed home more than 200 of its fighters after they were released in a major prisoner swap with Russia. Ukraine handed over one key ally of the Russian president in exchange for the prisoners of war, including many detained at the Mariupol steel plant. Viktor Medvedchuk was one of 55 people turned over to Russia in return for 215 Ukrainian prisoners. Mr Medvedchuk is Ukraine's pro-Russian opposition leader. He acted as the Kremlin's primary agent of influence in Ukraine for many years. His youngest daughter is also President Putin's godchild. Despite that, Russian officials had previously denied any ties to Mr Medvedchuk. He had been captured in April after escaping house arrest while awaiting trial on treason charges.
Привіт, хлопці, привіт, дорогенькі, героям слава. Молодчаги.
Ukrainians hailed the exchange as a great victory, with the top advisor of President Vladimir Zelensky claiming Mr Medvedchuk had already given all the testimony he could. Locals as well celebrated the release, with some crying for joy and expressing hope that this is a sign of victory.
Військові, і за них ми живемо. Це наша гордість, це наша слава, це наша радість, це наші хлопці. Я тільки за, щоб всіх освободили. І щоб наша ненька Україна була вільна. Я тільки за це.
Це гарна новина, справді. І я думаю, що це сигнал навіть того, що Москва вже здається помаленьку.